There is a recipe your grandparents made every single week, one that fed entire families through the coldest winters Canada had to offer. And there is a good chance you have never tasted it once in your life. We are bringing back 10 recipes that quietly disappeared from Canadian kitchens over the last 50 years. Dishes shaped by Indigenous traditions, French settlers, and immigrant communities who could not afford to waste a single ingredient. Some were never written down. They moved hand to hand, pot to pot, across generations who believed good food was worth remembering. Stay until number 10, because that one nearly vanished forever. And it should not have. Tourtière au bleuet, blueberry meat pie. Most Canadians know tourtière as a savory pork pie. But in the Lac-Saint-Jean region of Quebec, wild blueberries went directly into the spiced meat filling. And the result was unlike anything else in Canadian cooking. The Lac-Saint-Jean blueberry is smaller, darker, and far more intense than any cultivated variety. Folded into ground pork with cinnamon and cloves, it created a filling that was simultaneously smoky, sweet, and deeply savory. The contrast was startling on the first bite. By the second, it made complete sense. Outside of the Saguenay region today, this version is almost never made. That is a genuine loss. Bangbelly, Newfoundland molasses. Pudding bangbelly was the dessert Newfoundland outport families made when the pantry had almost nothing left, and it was extraordinary. Flour, baking soda, molasses, salt pork fat, and raisins if available. Poured into a greased pan and baked until it rose into a dense, sticky slab. The molasses brought a deep bitterness that the rendered fat rounded into something almost caramel-like. Served warm with a pour of cream, bangbelly turned a nearly empty kitchen into a celebration. It was comfort built entirely from what remained on the shelf. And it disappeared the moment convenience foods arrived. Roubabou, voyageur pea porridge. Before highways or rail lines existed, voyageurs paddled thousands of kilometers across the Canadian interior. Roubabou kept them alive. Dried split peas and rendered fat, boiled into a thick, calorie-dense porridge that tasted of very little but fueled canoe journeys of 40 kilometers a day. Developed through the relationship between French traders and Indigenous peoples of the Shield and Great Lakes, Roubabou was practical to the point of genius. Nothing spoiled. It kept for days. It required almost no equipment. It was Canada's original trail food, and it has been completely forgotten. Rappie pie, rapure. Rappie pie is one of the most labor-intensive dishes in Canadian culinary tradition, and one of the most misunderstood by anyone who did not grow up Acadian. Raw potatoes were grated by hand, then squeezed through cloth until almost all liquid was removed. Hot chicken broth was worked back into the dry pulp. Meat was layered through the center and the whole dish baked for hours into something dense and deeply savory, with a crackling top crust that people openly fought over. In Clare, Nova Scotia, rappie pie suppers still happen at church halls. Everywhere else, this dish is nearly gone. Cretins, Quebec spiced pork spread. Every Quebec kitchen once kept a ceramic pot of cretins in the refrigerator. Spread cold and thick across toast before anyone said a word in the morning. Ground pork was simmered low and slow in milk with onions, cloves, cinnamon, and allspice until the fat rendered out and the mixture set into a pale, spiced terrine. No two family recipes were identical. Spice levels, fat ratios, and coarseness of grind varied by household. You could identify whose cretins you were eating from the very first bite. In rural Quebec, this was as essential to breakfast as bread itself. The plastic tub version at the grocery store is not the same thing. Fricassee de poulet, Old Quebec chicken fricassee. This was not the light French fricassee of culinary school. The Quebec version was darker, earthier, and built entirely for winter. A whole chicken was browned hard in lard until deeply golden. Flour was toasted in the fat until nutty. Then stock was added slowly, building a gravy the color of mahogany. Salt pork, onions, and wild mushrooms finished the pot. It simmered until the meat fell from the bone. Served over boiled potatoes, it was the kind of dinner that made whatever was happening outside feel like someone else's problem. Faster, lighter cooking replaced it, and something real was lost in that trade. Bannock, Indigenous fry bread. No dish on this list carries more history than bannock. Adapted by Indigenous peoples from coast to coast after Scottish traders introduced the basic method in the 1700s, Bannock became one of the most widely made breads in Canadian history. Each nation developed its own version, baked in coals, wrapped around sticks, or fried in cast iron. The dough was simple: flour, baking powder, salt, and water. The result was golden outside, soft and chewy within. For many Indigenous families, bannock is a living tradition. For the broader Canadian kitchen, it remains largely unknown. And that says something important about whose food gets remembered. Solomon Gundy, maritime pickled herring. In Nova Scotia, no Saturday lunch was complete without Solomon Gundy. Pickled herring served cold on crackers with raw onion, nothing else required. Salt herring was soaked for days, then packed into jars with sliced onions, vinegar, sugar, mustard seed, and bay leaf. It sat in the refrigerator for at least a week before anyone touched it. The result was firm, intensely savory, and bright with acid. Solomon Gundy was a staple of German and British settler communities along the South Shore. Practical, long-lasting, and genuinely delicious in a way that asked only one thing of you: the willingness to try it. Pemmican, Indigenous preserved meat. Pemmican is one of the most nutritionally efficient foods ever developed by any culture. And it was invented here, on Canadian soil, by Plains Indigenous peoples long before European contact. Dried bison or caribou was powdered and mixed in equal weight with rendered fat, then packed into hide bags. Dried Saskatoon berries or choke cherries were folded in for energy and flavor. A single kilogram provided enough calories for a full day of hard physical work. It did not spoil for months. The entire fur trade ran on it. Today, pemmican is rarely made outside of cultural revival contexts, but it remains one of Canada's most important and least celebrated contributions to food history. Pets de soeur, Quebec pastry, pinwheels. We end with the recipe almost no one outside Quebec has heard of, and that every Quebecer who grew up in their grandmother's kitchen remembers with quiet, genuine fondness. Pets de soeur, which translates rather ungraciously as nun's farts, were made from leftover pie dough. The scraps were rolled flat, spread with butter, brown sugar, and cinnamon, then rolled tightly and sliced into rounds. Baked until the sugar caramelized and the pastry turned golden and flaky. They were sticky, rich, and completely impossible to stop at one. They cost nothing, they took 10 minutes, they were born from the refusal to waste a single scrap. And they were, without question, perfect. These 10 recipes are not just forgotten food. They are proof of how Canadians survived, adapted, and found something worth savoring in whatever they had. From a Newfoundland pantry in February to a Quebec kitchen on a Sunday morning, the people who made these dishes knew something we are only beginning to remember.